Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining today's small group demo, where we're going to be providing an introduction on the new Audience Insights app. We're really excited to walk through it, talk a little bit about some of the problems it's solving and how it helps fit kind of within the broader personalization story within Contentstack. I'm Brandon Eccles, Senior Product Marketer here at Contentstack, and I am joined and co-hosting today with my good friend, Adam Smith. Adam, how are you doing?
Good day, everyone. I'm marvelous. How are you, Brandon?
Excellent. He's one of our senior solutions engineers, master of the demo and showing the platform. I'll kind of walk through a little bit about what it is and the what and the why, and then I'll kick it over to Adam to show you the actual in the product demo. So like I said, I'll kick things off, just a little bit of overview. We'll give you some insight into what the actual app is and some of the capabilities it has, and then we'll go into the demo and then go into a Q&A. And with that, we'll be recording. So the recording will be shared afterwards, posted on our website and accessible that way. And then also, yeah, as you have questions, please submit them. We'll either answer them in the moment if it makes sense, or get them answered with some time at the end. All right. We hear from a lot of teams that there's a lack of clarity around like what kind of content to create and what might actually resonate with their audiences. And even though you've got data, if you don't have kind of the insight into it, then you're kind of just guessing on some of the things that you're creating, right? And so this leads to like unclear priorities where you don't know exactly kind of what topics matter and or at least matter most to different audiences. And that can lead to different priorities where you're doing personalization that is ineffective or just feels like it's not really landing or hitting the mark. And then this leads to what we call content chaos, right? Teams are asking these kinds of questions, but again, without the data or the insights to answer them, it's really hard to answer them in an informed way. And so that's why kind of what the Audience Insights app does is replace this, right? This is where it comes in and adds just a little bit of content clarity, right? Bringing that kind of real-time content intelligence to what you're actually creating. Oh, and sorry, I look like we were having some issues with slides there. Thank you. I think I was controlling on the wrong one. But this leads to this content chaos that we have, right? And go right here into the clarity it provides, right? And this, so let's go into just a couple of the things that it's doing here. This allows you to now see exactly what your audience will care about, right? We'll show the topics and things that they're resonating with them, and allow you to see what gaps and things like that exist. And this is where these opportunities can come in, helping you know exactly what content to create. And this is what leads to more advanced personalization, right? This is kind of getting you started on that path that maybe you don't know exactly how to get started on. It kind of consists of, the Audience Insight app consists of three main components. It starts with the Opportunity Explorer, right? And this is the thing we've kind of been alluding to. But this will allow you to see and select different audience segments, and then based on those audience segments, see what kind of topics are resonating. Larger kind of clusters here, and I don't want to go into too much detail and spoil what Adam's going to show you, but kind of different size clusters allow you to see, based on where they are in this quadrant, what type of content may need to be addressed or created that might resonate more with a specific audience. We'll go into the content map, which allows you to really see how your content is related and what kind of topics exist in your content and how those topics are related to each other. We'll go in, and then we'll go into the last part of it, which is the Audience Explorer, which allows you to select your different audience segments and then see kind of which topics or affinities are most resonating within those specific segments. All right, Adam, now that I've kind of provided some context, I'll kick it over to you to walk us through a little bit of the platform.
Let's do it. All right. So, hey guys, so I want to take a step back, kind of show you, first of all, where to find audience insights. So as part of our ContentCon announcements, we did have a whole new way of kind of interacting with apps, right? And switching between them. So one of the things I want to show you right here is we now have this kind of top rail here, right? So I've got my dashboard, my entries, my visual experience, and all that. But one of the things I have here, of course, is my Audience Insights app. So if I want to launch directly into that, I can just go right here. And now it's going to show me a few different things, right? For starters, it's going to show me this Opportunity Explorer. And what this really is this going to help me identify, really content topics with high or low impact. And this is all based upon behavior. Helps me at a glance really see, what content is resonating and which ones might need attention, right? And one of the ways that we're doing this is we're basically saying, okay, let's take a look at these traits. Let's look at these clusters and trends and everything, right? And for starters, we have this kind of this y-axis here, right? And this is our prevalence, right? And what this is really designed to be is this is going to show me how often content is going to appear across all of your published content, right? So of course, higher means we're going to have more of it. We're going to have broader coverage. And then on this x-axis, this is where we now have things like our behavioral scores. So if we want to look at people that are, frequent users, for example, or really deeply engaged, or we want to see what those real lookalike models are, right? So this is really a predictive model that's going to score based upon, do they look like a particular audience that we want to personalize for? Now, this is on our site. What we're trying to do is we're trying to really target in for people that are going to become premier customers. So we're going to tailor information for that. Cool thing here too, right, is I can go in and I can see exactly how this has all changed over time. So if I want to take a look at trending changes in our audiences and our topics or our affinities, right, I can go in and maybe I'll take a look at the last 30 days, right? I can generate this and it's going to show me exactly how all of those different things are trending, right, given the things I'm looking at. So here I'm looking at prevalence and premier likelihood. And of course, I can kind of dive in to different ones. Now, the other cool thing is here, if we want to go and create an audience, once we've identified something that is particularly compelling, right, for our marketing team, maybe we want to do this water audience. I can click right here and at a glance, I can see, okay, there are about 5,500 people that are interacting, right, that with this sort of content. We haven't really created an audience yet, but we've got things across 5 different content entries. So that's a pretty interesting opportunity for us. So right from here, I can go in and I can create our new audience. So if I wanted to do, water activities, right? I'll just do that. I can then go and create that audience straight away. Other cool thing is now, of course, if I want to go and take a look behind the scenes and see exactly what this audience is, we're now going to show me what this interest-based audience is. It's going to show me all of the interesting things about it once we start collecting data on the site and with our profiles, right? And of course, I can go in, take a look at details, the characteristics of this audience, etc. From here, I can also go in and start to take a look at things like our content map. And the content map is really cool because what this lets me do is I can take a look at really how topics are going to relate to each other based upon that user engagement throughout our site, right? So, we can look at core themes, we can look at topic clusters, and we can look at gaps, right? And of course, kind of much like the Opportunity Explorer, larger nodes here are going to show more traction, while kind of these connecting lines like culture and activity here you can see is going to show associations. So I can start to really refine the strategy, I can personalize, I can really start to prioritize, right? And from there, we've then got, of course, our Audience Explorer. And this is going to allow me to really dive into what's capturing people's interests, right? So I could see, for example, Premier Customer is a pretty high value audience for us, right? I can go right in here. I can see exactly, what their affinities are. If they're looking at adventure, if they're looking at all inclusive, right? I can see exactly where everybody kind of fits in terms of what's resonating with them and kind of, what those affinities are and where that is distributed right throughout the audience. So a lot of opportunities there. I could maybe go to a bigger one and go to my standard audience too, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can start to interact with the data, with the content here. in some meaningful ways, right? So that's kind of what it looks like from the Audience Insights app. But the other aspect we have is when you're working on content, we want to make sure that folks have, really in context information that helps them make decisions around what the content is, how to, basically work on that and optimize it for specific audiences. So let's dive into visual experience real quick, because I'll show you where we can take a look at all of these audience insights right in the content. So now we're taking a look at our homepage, for example, right? And one of the things, the marketer, that I kind of want to learn is, okay, well, this is great, but how is this resonating with the audiences that we've defined, right? The opportunities that we have. And that can be found right here in our Audience Insights app here on the side rail. If I dive in here, we're now going to have the opportunity to go in and really analyze this content. So if I go through on this, it's going to show me all of the topics, right, that have been found in this content. And then it's also going to show me really what that audience alignment is, right? So taking a look at all the different segments, all the different types of users that are working with our content, this is where I can see exactly who's resonating and interacting with this content the most. So really compelling from, taking a quick look at kind of where all of this content is and how I can work with it. Now, when it comes to really setting this up, the most straightforward way to do that is to just install the JavaScript tag that we have. So when you do have your data activation and your Audience Insights app installed, it's really as simple as going here and setting up we have a web JavaScript right here. And this is where you'll set up really that SDK or that JavaScript tag. And you can put this in your tag manager, or of course, if you're using Launch, you can use it within Launch as well and make that a very kind of straightforward experience, right? What's cool about this core JavaScript tag is it's going to automatically collect activity data as browsers, as people browse the website. It's going to build profiles and then surface everything based upon analyzing content that you already have. So you don't have to go in and kind of manually tag your content. You don't have to go in and create those different types of relationships. You just install the JavaScript tag, activate it in your data activation layer, and you're good to go. So that's what I had to show you today, and I will hand it back over to Brandon.
Thanks, Adam. And I think that's one of the interesting things that you just mentioned, is that a lot of the times what I think we find is that customers may not know exactly like which audience segments to create or which topics and things like that they should be targeting. The great thing about setting this up and getting this app available is that it will start surfacing those topics just based on the kind of machine learning and stuff that's happening behind the scenes. It will infer what those topics are and help you start building those audiences in a way that you can shape beyond that, but that also just kind of gives you a path to get started. And I think that's one of the best things about this, is that if you don't know how to get started with personalization, or if you have questions or are curious about if your content is resonating in the best way possible, this is the best way to really start to get some insights into that. And again, this is available. I guess let me move on here if we can go back to our slides, but well, don't know exactly where they went, but that's okay. I was just going to say that it's really simple to get started. We'll be sending out the getting started guide and documentation and the follow-up resources. But this is available to all CMS customers. You don't need to have personalized in order to get started with this. Again, great option if you're just looking to see kind of what options there are to get started with personalization. But aside from that, we do have a question here. Let me see if we can get this answered.
So looks like we have a question around tagging content blocks and CTAs. So there's a couple aspects to that. When you create an audience within our data and insights platform, it will automatically synchronize right to your personalized projects. So you can then start to target to those audiences. And then in terms of tagging and maybe adding additional context or audiences on the things, you can do that using labels or taxonomy within the content itself. Analytics or data and insights will pick up on that.
And then heat mapping, I think, is the second part of this. within data and insights or analytics. I'm not aware of any heat mapping exactly, but I'm also not 100% sure on that one, but we can get back to you. But I'm
Yeah,
not
not
aware of anything.
yeah, not to my knowledge. But the nice thing is, much like everything else in our platform, all of this data is API accessible, and we do incorporate, other analytics tools, right? One of the cool things with our data activation layer is we are grabbing information from data warehouses, from even CDPs and existing CRMs and things. So we can use that to assemble out. And then if you are looking to do a heat map, right, there are opportunities there to show that in context, just not something we have built in.
Can I create audience segments directly from the app? And I think that was kind of what we were showing here is one of the great benefits of allowing you to get started with personalization is as you hover over those clusters in the Opportunity Explorer, you can begin to create and define audiences around those topics, and then create or tailor or personalize pieces of content for those audiences. So hopefully that was a good answer. I think that's all we might have for now. If there's other questions, I know we have. It looks like that might be all though. If there are other questions, we'll stick around for a little bit, but if not, then that will be it for today. But like I said, we'll send out the recordings, we'll send out some follow-up comms, and it will be listed on our website, and we will talk to you next month. Thanks for joining, everybody.